The Alpha's Untamable Luna. Synopsis. Dahlia Winters never asked to be part of a war. Orphaned and adopted into the peaceful Frostclaw pack, she lived a quiet life, until the night everything burned. When her pack is massacred by a vicious, unknown enemy, Dahlia barely escapes with her life. Wounded, grieving, and on the run, she crosses into forbidden territory, the domain of the legendary Dreadmore pack, known for their brutal dominance and golden black markings. She expected death. What she didn't expect was him. Finn Graves, Alpha of Dreadmore, is feared across the werewolf world. Cold, commanding, and utterly lethal, he's built an empire from ashes. But when he catches the scent of the injured trespasser, everything changes. Dahlia is his fated mate and the one woman who refuses to bow. Now trapped between her hatred for what he represents and the pull of an undeniable bond, Dahlia must choose, submit to the role of Luna, or fight for her freedom. But Finn has never met anyone like Dahlia, fierce, defiant, and intoxicating. She challenges him at every turn, refusing to be just another obedient mate. As enemies close in and secrets rise from the shadows, Dahlia must decide whether she's willing to lead, or walk away forever. Episode 1. Dahlia. I am running at a pace that has never been my own. Trees seem more like ghastly, deformed monsters that tower over me, fading away more quickly than I can comprehend. I feel like I'm running for my life because my body is screaming at me in protest, my heart is pounding in my ears, and I'm dizzy. I can't stop picturing the assault. Blood, savage snarling, tearing of flesh, fire, and the ensuing screams were all present. It was a real-life horror scene, my God. I regret not taking more action. I could only watch as my pack was attacked, and I did so with the terrifying knowledge that, in spite of everything, we would lose. I had spent the day exploring the woods, gathering berries and herbs that my adoptive mother Serafina uses for a variety of teas and recipes. I am unaware of my real parents. I was left an orphan for unknown reasons, and I was given the name Dahlia by the Frostclaw pack's Luna, Serafina. She claims that Luna Serafina accepted me into the pack without hesitation. In the years that followed, she and Alpha would raise me. Tobias, our Alpha, has never incited conflict among people or painted our pack as a target. Instead, he has always been nice and kind to everyone he meets. We have been living on the coast of northern Oregon in peace for years until now, that is. I've never seen a pack as vicious and powerful as the one that came for us. At first, I assumed it was the Dreadmore pack, the fabled pack known for being more vicious and bloodthirsty than any other pack in our history. According to legend, the Dreadmore pack is the most vicious and powerful of all the packs. Even though I haven't met any Dreadmores, I can tell from the stories that they are terrible people. In other words, the Dreadmores at least have a desire to control all of America. In order to become unstoppable, they wish to expand their boundaries. They have been successfully occupying other packs and forcing them to give up their territory and themselves for years. They have already taken over most of the eastern and Midwest regions, and rumors have it that they have been moving west. The people who were after us tonight had red crimson claw slash marks on their shoulders and backs, while Dreadmores are easily recognized by the distinctive golden black bands around their arms. In our house, I had discovered Tobias and Luna Serafina together, dead. Although their hands were firmly clasped around one another, their chests were slashed open, and I could tell they had suffered greatly. The fact that they passed away together as they walked this life was a small consolation to me. I knew I had to leave, or else I would soon be lying next to them, just as brutalized and just as dead, so I didn't have time to weep or mourn. I was fortunate enough to remain invisible amidst the chaos, as my pack mates were either engaged in combat or already dead on the ground. Though I recognize a losing battle when I see one, I still wanted to stay and fight. To a certain degree, I fulfilled my role, but only out of necessity. I was pursued by a few smaller wolves, probably young ones, but I managed to push past them. Throughout it all, my wolf was growling at me to flee in order to protect myself from the impending doom of Frostclaw's total devastation. Consequently, I ran, and I'm still running. One of the juveniles had slashed my shoulder blade as I turned to run, and I can feel the blood running down my arm. However, that pain pales in comparison to the realization that the majority of the people I've come to know will die by morning. After dawn, there won't be a Frostclaw pack. Furthermore, I'm not sure if I'll escape our attackers' range in time to avoid dying. I've been running flat out for about 4 miles when I finally stop, panting and exhausted. Even though I know instinctively that it is silent where I am at the moment, save for the birds twittering in the branches above me, the sounds of the screaming and snarling keep playing in my mind. I detect a variety of strange smells. If I had to guess, probably those of other packs. Hopefully, I'll be able to respect other people's boundaries. Right now, I can't be creating any more enemies than I already have. The best ground is neutral ground. I continue walking until I reach a long patch of grass that will, I know, keep me hidden for a few hours while I rest. I am aware that I must constantly move and avoid staying in one spot for an extended period of time. The pack that attacked us will also be moving if they are astute. They may leave some members to patrol and keep an eye on the newly claimed territory, but the others will not. They will disperse and search for food, survivors, and any other potential prisoners or resources. I collapse to the ground, breathing irregularly and shakily. Even though I know my body temperature is well over 100 degrees at this moment, I shiver for a moment as the grass feels damp against my skin from today's rain. The shock is the cause. My wolf informs me that despite my enhanced powers, we are still vulnerable psychologically because we are human. Werewolves are powerless to stop the suffering that accompanies our humanity. Even though we have the potential to turn into animals, this does not necessarily mean that we actually are, at least not in situations like this. I'm not exempt from the stifling of human emotion because I'm a werewolf. It doesn't provide protection from heartbreak, grief, or loss. I realize once more that my family is really gone, and I experience another wave of sadness and realization. My community, my pack, I feel violated and furious with the pack that did this. Dare they? Tobias and Serafina were everything that made Frostclaw a wonderful place to live. And for their legacy to be so ruined, not just their existence? I try to slow my racing thoughts by closing my eyes, but my mind betrays me as I visualize Tobias's and Serafina's bloodied hands clasped together. On the wet floor, I shiver once more. My chest aches so much that I have to pull my shirt up to look for any injuries. When I examine myself and see that, besides some rather unsightly bruises, I'm largely fine, I'm almost disappointed. My chest pain isn't caused by a wound that can be healed with some time and ibuprofen. This is the first day that I've ever felt this way consistently. The sensation of constantly missing them. When I realize this, hot tears well up in my eyes. In an attempt to unravel the knot that is twisting in my chest, I grasp at it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, I drift off to sleep gripping the knot, wishing for something to remove me from this moment. A scream echoes in my head as I wake up with a start. Everything is quiet and motionless as I blink into the light. I'm still surrounded by my grassy walls, which keep people away from me. I pay close attention before slowly sitting up to make sure no one else is nearby or approaching. I know I'll need to find something to eat soon because I can feel my hunger gnawing at me relentlessly. I get up and stretch, which is a bad idea. I have sore muscles, especially in one shoulder. The 3 long gashes, which run from my shoulder's curve, must be fairly deep if they haven't healed completely. I quickly discover that I've been heading southwest as I look around. The salty breeze from the ocean hits me here much more strongly than it does where Frostclaw is. That knot in my chest flexes with a pulse of sorrow as I correct myself mentally. Hold on, pay attention. The realization that we are no longer alone causes my wolf to snap at me, her fur tingling. A pair of heartbeats. 4 feet. I can tell they are foreign and seriously unwashed by their terrible odor. That pack was one of the easiest to take down. Did you see their Luna and Alpha? God, they were so helpless, I almost felt bad for them. I located in the woods a ways to my left after hearing a voice in my ears. But it's still close enough to be alarming. A man owns it, and he's giggling. Giggling as if he had just heard a good joke's punchline. Thinking of the lives they took so ruthlessly, with no consideration for the women or the children, makes me angry. Everyone was targeted and killed. Idiot number 1 and a companion scoff. I know, I don't know why Alpha bothered to have us scout for survivors. It's a waste of our time. That tiny pack never stood a chance. If anyone got away, he continues to scoff. They're lucky. This second voice sounds younger and is different, and he too can't help but brag about my pack's loss. My wolf is showing her teeth as I clench my jaw and ball my fists at my sides, hoping that justice will be served for those who were caught in the ambush. However, my logical side kicks in and I begin to gradually retreat, understanding that if I can hear them, they can hear me as well. I must go without warning them. I'm no better off than anyone at Frostclaw if they find out I'm here. I'm positive they can't hear me because my feet are pressing down so softly on the ground. I make a hasty but cautious retreat in silence. Today, I cannot afford to be seen or heard. I'm hungry, weak, and not in the mood for these werewolves to pursue me. I start to run as soon as their voices get out of my earshot and then completely vanish. My entire body is pleading with me to stop, to just walk more slowly. My feet bang on the floor, my limbs throb, and my shoulder yells at me. My entire body weight hits the ground with each step, and the resulting pain serves as an unavoidable reminder that I am currently too weak to fight. I'll be killed if I'm discovered. I have no doubt about it. I pause to catch my breath and check my shoulder, which has begun to bleed once more and is burning with a pain that makes me question whether the juvenile wolf's claws are in some way more lethal than those of an adult wolf because this hurts. More blood trickles down my shirt and across my collarbone, and I grimace. Although I don't mind blood all that much, I don't like to think about getting covered in it for the next few hours. Right now, I would benefit greatly from a hot shower. When I hear a creak gurgling, my ears perk up, and I head straight for it. In addition to drinking water, I need to wash my wound to prevent infection. By the end of today, I should be able to close it up with my healing, but in the meantime, I have to use antiquated techniques. Before long, the faint sound of water trickling over rocks gives way to a full-fledged stream that screams over big, round rocks. Along the Raven Brook bank, I fall to my knees and drink avariciously, cupping the icy water in my hands. I spritz some on my neck and face to help cool me down from the summer sun's heat. I reluctantly splash some water on my hurt shoulder and grimace as it seeps into the area. Even though it hurts, I enjoy the relief it provides, the agonizing kind of relief you get when you pull a bandage off your skin or remove a thorn from your finger. Hey! My attention is drawn to a voice that I don't think is either of the scouts, and when I look up, I see a very angry, burly man across the river staring at me. Wait! I shout in a low voice. Knowing the other scouts are close enough that he'll give us both away, it's the first thing that comes to mind when I put my hands out to stop him talking. All of this will have been in vain if that occurs, and worse, I will have sentenced a complete stranger to the same fate as myself. His brows are furrowed heavily and his eyes are narrowed in suspicion as he asks, "What the hell are you doing here?" As he sneers, I notice the golden black band curling around his bicep. This isn't your territory. I go rigid with realization, as if the cold water rushing in front of me had just been poured over my entire body. He's a Dreadmore. I get up, quickly concluding that my only chance is to tell him who I am before the scouts discover us. Perhaps he will feel sorry for me and let me go through without any problems. The man on the other side of the river laughs as I say, "I just needed water. I'm running from another pack right now that came and killed everyone in mine last night. Please, stop yelling, or they'll hear us both. And I promise that you won't like it when they do." He then jumps across the river, clearing the 8 feet of space as he goes. Well, it must be my lucky day you're running from them and now, from me as well. I hate to ruin your hiding place, sweetheart, but we really don't take kindly to trespassers. I scream like a banshee because that's the only thing that comes to mind. In an attempt to draw in the other werewolf scouts and have them occupy this one long enough for me to escape, I break away at a run from my charging assailant. The only thing that keeps me alive is distraction. In a complex dance of attacking and counterattacking, the Dreadmore and I leap back and forth with one another. However, I feel myself slipping against the soft bank of the river as I leap to the other side, and I land on my back. He's on top of me, pinning me down before I can react. He smirks down at me as his knee digs into my shoulder, causing me to scream in agony. He dances with a chilling kind of enjoyment and malice in his blue eyes. He starts to say, "No one can hear you now, you little," but is abruptly interrupted when he is flung backwards. I watch him fly through the air before landing in the center of Raven Brook, where water splashes up and soaks him. To my left, the 2 male scouts from earlier are standing together, both of them staring at the drenched Dreadmore they just doused. With a gravelly voice that sounds rough and insane, the Dreadmore says, "Oh, you have no idea who you're choosing to mess with." As he starts to emerge from the water, his entire body trembles so violently that it feels like an earthquake is occurring inside of him. The older scout, whose dark hair is beginning to turn grey at the edges, says, "We need her alive, orders of our Alpha. At least he is in his 40s. The other has a youthful appearance and is blonde. He smirks proudly at his status, and I want to roll my eyes at him, but I hold back to keep my head on my shoulders. Yet? Well, my Alpha says we need to turn in any trespassers directly to him. Believe me, he's worse than I am, worse than almost anyone." I turn to see that someone else has now emerged from the tree line after hearing the sound of footsteps thudding behind me. He's in his early 20s, about my age. I notice right away that he also has a golden black band around his arm that is inked into the skin. Startled, he turns to face his comrade. I want to laugh when he asks, "Maddox, what's going on? 3 people who want to kill me are fighting over me." Maddox sneers, looking at the other 2 men with obvious annoyance and something like disgust. "Looks like our trespasser brought some trouble with her, but we have to turn her into Alpha immediately. And they're preventing me from doing so." The newcomer then comes up to me and extends his hand, his face cautious and, dare I say it, worried. He seems a lot nicer than this Maddox character, if that's possible for a Dreadmore. The person who just picked me up off the ground says, "Let us do our jobs, okay? We're not asking for a fight." I dismiss myself, but my legs are still stiff and ready to run as soon as I have the chance. Near the end, the older scout's voice turns into a low rumble as he says, "Sorry, but it's either you hand her over, or we take her." I sense that everyone in my immediate vicinity is on the verge of shifting. This will soon turn into a full-scale wolf fight because they are all becoming so irate and possessive. Dreadmore, who is nicer, gives me a sharp look before turning back to the others. He backs off a few paces, nonchalantly, casually. He shrugs easily and says, "Oh well." Then, in an instant, his body erupts and transforms into a huge black and grey wolf. I see that Maddox, his friend in the river, has changed too, but he's now chocolate brown with a big white patch on his chest. Then, with their growls echoing through their chests, the 2 scouts from the other pack shift. While the older one is a stormy grey, the younger one is a small, pale yellow wolf, which confirms my suspicions about his youth. The wolves then clash. Long claws slash through the air in the hopes of meeting flesh, and jaws snap. All I hear are whimpers, snarls, and barks as they fight in front of me for my imprisonment. Realizing that this is the precise moment I had envisioned creating when I first screamed, I slowly start to back away. After taking a few solid steps and making sure they're too busy to notice me, I turn around and start running. Once more, trees tower over me, and the sounds of their growls and snarls fade into the distance. Suddenly, my foot gets caught in the root of a nearby tree, and I start to fall toward the ground. I barely catch myself, and my shoulder is screaming at the whole thing again. I'm exhausted, but I do my best to get up. Never in my life have I desired sleep more than I do now. However, I am motivated by something inside and get back up to run. I'm slower, but at least I'm running, and that's better than waiting to be killed. However, the trees start to disappear as I get farther away from the others. I get the eerie impression that I've ventured into the inner reaches of Dreadmore. My guesses are soon confirmed when the path I'm following emerges from the trees and I find myself on the outskirts of what appears to be the main village on the Dreadmore. Now, I'm surrounded by people with ankles and arms inked with golden black bands. God, that's not good. Every wolf in this area is going to be negotiating and fighting for my capture, and I have no chance against them. Now I'm frantically searching for a way out while spinning around. Their markings all seem to bleed into an endless stream of black, and my vision spins as I push down surfaces with all my might. I am totally encircled. I have to leave, I can't stay here. It is too horrifying to witness firsthand the tales of what these individuals have done and are capable of. I charge ahead in what I believe to be an escape route as more eyes focus on me, taking note of my presence and probably my lack of black markings. However, I'm in such a panic that I don't even check my direction. I just know it has to be somewhere else. I run straight into someone as I continue in my unplanned path. This person steadies me with two big hands on either shoulder and is strangely warm. Blackness covers the edges of my vision, threatening to eat away at it as it continues to blur, fading in and out of focus. But I manage to look up just before I faint. I look into the most captivating pair of brown eyes I've ever seen. They're the same color as the bark of a pine tree as the sun sets on it. Knowing that the person supporting me is undoubtedly another Dreadmore, I gasp in shock. However, as I inhale, an enticing aroma fills my lungs, giving me a burn that I genuinely like. I can't describe the sense of relief that hums through my body. My limbs loosen from the natural sense of ease I now experience, and unconsciousness calls me nearer. At least I get to experience this before I die, if I'm going to die. However, my muscles give out completely, and everything around me vanishes into the darkness at the same time. I run from my house to the trail that returns to the main square after getting Maddox and Jace's mind link informing me of a trespasser who brought attackers with them. Knowing that these werewolves who have the audacity to cross my lines must recognize who they are up against, I take to it at a run. My father and I have spent years establishing an unstoppable reputation, and I'm not going to allow anyone to destroy or tarnish it. When I emerge from the trees and enter the center of the village, I discover that almost everyone is frozen in place, staring at a girl who has stopped completely in the center of the square. Since she didn't have the markings of our pack, I initially questioned who she was and why she was here. I advance a few more cautiously, assessing the circumstances. But by the time I breathe again, her heady aroma is catching me off guard. It smells like blackberries and is both fruity and fresh. The ones that grow in the summer along our shores. I have to close my eyes and keep a groan from escaping my throat as the scent overwhelms my senses. She appears bewildered and utterly panicked as she spins around. Blood is streaming down her shoulder and onto her collarbone and chest. Then she suddenly throws herself forward. I don't know where I'm going, so I move forward to get ready. She only takes a few steps before her body crashes into mine, and I instantly grab her tiny shoulders to support her. I experience a sensation similar to an electric charge rushing through my skin as my flesh meets hers, causing my entire body to vibrate. It begs me to approach, it's warm and tingly. Now that she's this close, her scent is all around me, and I gaze down into her gorgeously untamed cerulean eyes as she starts to pass out. Then her whole weight falls on me as she collapses into my arms. However, I easily support her weight as I pull her into my arms, taking care not to aggravate her wounds. I can feel my inner wolf waking up inside of me as I do this. He's practically dying to come out and find the jerks who did this to her. She feels so soft and delicate in my arms. I feel like the slightest movement could shatter her. It doesn't matter if I don't know this girl's name, her origins, or her purpose for being here. Without a doubt, I am aware of her actual significance. My wolf is aware of it as well and feels, for the first time, whole and complete. She is my partner, the person I have been longing to see for the rest of my life. The person who will have a unique understanding of me. The person who will support me during every trial and adversity. The person I will ultimately love more than life itself. I turn to my pack, which is still observing with curiosity and interest, after processing this tidal wave of reality in a matter of seconds. They have never before seen their alpha even hint at interest in a woman, so this is completely out of character for me to be doing. Not to mention an absolute stranger. I shout over the still quiet area, I need the nearest fighters at Ravenbrook. There are trespassers there, and both Maddox and Jace need your help. I quickly pivoted on my heel, disregarding my members' reactions, and started jogging back to my house. I am aware that it is currently the safest place for her to be. In addition, I have the materials required to stop the excessive bleeding from that shoulder. It hurts to see how much she's losing, and her blood feels warm and sticky against my own skin as her wound presses against me. She is essentially a sheet, and her skin is getting paler by the day. I tighten my jaw and quicken my steps. I slam the door of my house open and hurry her to my bedroom, where I gently lay her on her side so I can see her shoulder. She stirs briefly, and after making sure she won't wake up, I hasten to get the first aid kit from the bathroom. In a matter of seconds, I'm back with her, sitting on the bed and tearing open the needle and suture thread package. This should be done while she is unconscious. Compared to waiting until she's awake, the pain will be much less now. I carefully and swiftly weave her skin back together. She's probably very weak right now, and it's too damaged to be healing itself the way it usually would. She begins to come to as soon as I tie off the end of the stitching. With a gasp, she sits bolt upright and pushes away from me as soon as I use the tiny medical scissors to cut off the tail of extra thread. Her eyes meet mine, and she looks even more terrified and wild than before. I immediately give her a peace sign with my palms out and say, "It's okay." I point to the medical supplies still strewn all over my bed and the floor and say, "You're safe now. I've got my guys handling the ones at Ravenbrook. You were hurt, and I needed you to get some help." Her jaw tightens as she takes a deep breath and scans her surroundings. She's so beautiful. There is no denying her beauty, even when she is covered in blood and a mess. I've come to realize that I don't like blondes as much as I once believed. After witnessing her stunning light brown curls cascading over her shoulders, I will never again regard a blonde woman in the same way. Fortunately, some color has returned to her olive skin, but it's still too pale for my taste. She needs to eat and sleep. Her body has obviously lost all of its energy. I say, "Lay down," with gentle intent, but it sounds like an order. She doesn't even know your name yet, so don't go all alpha on her just yet, you, Finn. She reluctantly settles back onto my pillows after I reprimand her, so it appears she hasn't taken offense. Her gaze moves across the pillows and bedspread, which are now covered in her blood. She noticeably flushes at the sight. She whispers softly, her voice gentle and sweet, I'm sorry. I shake my head and laugh. Don't worry about the sheets, those can be washed. I was more concerned about you bleeding out in front of me. I say this with integrity. Who are you? She asks inquisitively as her blue eyes meet mine, shocking me once more. It's as though the Mediterranean Sea has been imprisoned inside her irises. Jesus Christ! Her question makes me swallow, and I fervently hope she doesn't run away once she realizes who I am. Although I am aware that the tales of my family and I have been misrepresented over the years, I never gave them much thought until recently. Depending on the story, some of the stories are true and some are not. I say, not wanting to frighten her away with my official title, I'm Finn Graves. She states bluntly, and you're part of the Dreadmore pack. Her tone makes me smile. As I watch her eyes dart from my face to my bicep, I say, that's correct. The golden black bands of my pack are visible on the bicep, I know. It's clear that I'm alpha because I have two thick golden black bands instead of just the one that our other members get. With her eyes still fixed on my bicep and her voice barely audible, she whispers, "You're their alpha." I'm positive I wouldn't have heard her if I didn't have extremely sensitive hearing. However, I did. I acknowledge, also correct. After a brief period of silence, she abruptly stands up and jumps off the bed. I leap up to follow her, trapping her in by blocking her at the doorway and extending my arms to either side. I demand, "Where are you going?" I want to slap myself again for using such a tone, but sometimes I can't help myself. I do not wish for her to go. I don't want to frighten her. Her eyes are wide with fear, fear of me and my actions. Are you kidding me? You've killed so many people. I can hardly bear to watch her look at me like this. It makes me want to go back and make amends for all the wrongs I've ever done. I know I have to tell her the truth. It's my only chance to keep her here long enough for her to understand how connected we are now. We can't live without it, but we never asked for it. I acknowledge, I've killed before, yes, as she keeps looking up at me in terror and expectation of an impending attack. But the stories, if you've heard them and I assume you have, aren't all true. Just stay and let me explain. I say as calmly as I can, determined to keep her from leaving. She has no idea how long I have been waiting. She has no idea that when I woke up this morning, I cursed the authorities once more for letting me suffer through such loneliness. With her blue eyes gleaming with a fierce expression of resolve, she raises her eyebrows and asks, "And what if I don't stay?" She gives me a look that makes me feel something, and I'll be damned if I don't like it. The way she challenges my authority is so alluring that it's almost dangerous. I can only think about throwing her back on my bed and forgetting about everything else because it fills my mind with a fog of desire. I tell her bluntly, "You'll come to regret it." She actually chuckles at me. She rolls her eyes and says, "That's very scary." I'm amazed at the girl's courage. Without a doubt, she has a clever tongue. I have a very clever, full, luscious mouth that I know I could use for a lot more things. She lets out a sigh of what might be concession as I firmly repeat, "Stay." She's still staring up at me, and I can see 3 different shades of blue in her eyes right now. She's tall for a woman, but I'm much taller than her. However, my alpha genes are evident in every part of my being, both mentally and physically. This is how I was supposed to be built. With a tone of defeat, she says softly, only because I have nowhere else to go. I scowl at this new insight, and I pull my arms down from the doorframe as she moves away. I'm giving her orders again without being able to control myself when I say, "We need to clean you up. Sit and tell me what happened." However, she follows my instructions and sits down on the bed without paying any attention to them. I decide that asking, "Actually, what's your name?" is a more crucial place to start. She says, "Dahlia. Dahlia Winters." I immediately think the name is a perfect fit for her. She is just as organic and lovely as the dahlia trees that grow in these same woods. As I search the kit for some alcoholic wipes, I ask, "So, Dahlia Winters, why don't you have anywhere else to go?" She begins, her eyes averting for a few seconds, "Because those scouts at Ravenbrook destroyed my pack last night, and they were coming after me too." I feel a smile twitch at my lips as she laughs and rolls her blue eyes. "I didn't mean to drag you into this. Your men found me and then the other ones did too. They actually began fighting over whose prisoner I was going to be." Just a few minutes with her has already made me laugh more than I have in months. As I unfold the cloth, she observes my hands and asks, "Which pack did you belong to?" I recognize the name when she says, "Frostclaw." In terms of significance, they were a smaller pack that was here nor there. As far as I can recall, they have never gotten themselves entangled in any political werewolf drama. Since they were such a small pack, we thought about attacking them but decided to aim elsewhere. As I cautiously start to wipe the blood off her shoulder, I ask again, "Who were the attackers?" Her skin is really warm, and I can feel how soft it is even through the fabric. I feel that same vibrational hum all over again, and it's getting harder and harder to ignore how clearly we are attracted to one another. I suppress a laugh as she stammers in a cute way, I don't know." She tells me, her fingers slicing through the air to demonstrate what she means, "They had these red markings, they sort of look like lightning bolts or something. Crimson claw slashes." I feel proud and satisfied that I have the same impact on her as she does on me. I furrow my brows, picturing a pack with similar markings that we might have encountered or even taken over. But I'm at a loss for ideas. As I run the cloth over her shoulder and down to her collarbone, she murmurs, "They were vicious. Attacked everything and everyone. Women, children, the elderly. If I hadn't decided to leave when I did, I'd be dead by now." I hear her heart beat a little faster, but it's noticeable enough. I have to turn away to prevent myself from collapsing as she bites down on her entire lower lip. I tell her, "You'll be safe here." She merely gives me a small nod. Once more using an authoritative tone, I tell her, "Take off your shirt, there's more blood there." Dahlia looks up at me abruptly, her eyes full of defiance. "You know, I'm sure you'd really like that. But if this whole mate thing is going to work, you need to understand that I'll be doing it on my own terms," she says as she takes the fabric away from me. Her tone and the way she seems to believe I'll actually listen both make me feel a twinge of frustration. What does she believe herself to be? She is the one I have decided to accept after she stumbled into my territory. You know that everything has been decided for a while, so you're not making any decisions at this time. Despite knowing the truth of what he says, I ignore my wolf's reasoning because he seems far too satisfied with this fact. She has only been here for 20 minutes, and already she is not following instructions. I'm not sure what makes me do this, but I put my hands on her waist before I even notice the movement. Her eyes widen significantly, and the hypnotic vibration that has been pulsing through me ever since I touched her gets stronger. She undoubtedly senses it as well. I say bluntly, "So you know what we mean to each other then?" She merely scoffs, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. She takes my hands in hers for a brief moment to take them out before pushing herself off the bed and getting to her feet. "Of course I do," she says. Her emphasis, "But you need to know that right now, I don't belong to you. You aren't my alpha," makes me clench my fists because the sound is too delicious for my ears to handle. "I won't be yours just yet, sweetie, but I will be. And I'll have you for sure." My inner monologue makes me snicker, but Dahlia is still in front of me, appearing to have devised some kind of scheme. Then I instantly comprehend her strategy. Because she quickly pulls her shirt over her head after crossing her arms and grabbing each side. Her toned stomach and test every ounce of my self-control as she stands in front of me. She turns and walks confidently to the bathroom door. "You aren't my authority, as much as I'm sure you'd like to be. And I'll be taking a shower now. Feel free to stop me, although, I have a feeling you won't." Her disobedience tugs at my inexplicable bond with her once more, and I snarl at this powerless incapacity to manage both her and my emotions. She is the only person I will ever enjoy being around, but if she doesn't start listening, she's going to be a pain. I hear the shower start up and the door click shut. To demonstrate to her how much authority I could have over her if she would just accept it, I choose to leave before I knock on her door. However, I am aware that it would be improper. Even though I have absolutely no idea how this mating process is supposed to proceed, it wouldn't be how I want it to go. I had to be paired with the person who wouldn't listen to me out of all the women and people in the werewolf world. This seems like a sick joke, and I'm not laughing at it at all. My partner may be the most heart-stopping thing I've ever seen, but I already know that she will push me to the edge of my sanity. I'm not sure which is worse, the knowledge that she will push me to the limit or the fact that I won't mind her at all. I can barely believe it as the water sluices down on me. I actually just got up and even made fun of and teased the Dreadmore Alpha. I whisper to myself, my voice drowned out by the roar of the water, I must have a subconscious death wish. However, he is my mate, and my inner wolf knew that it was acceptable to feel that way about him. She liked to put him to the test and show off herself so distant yet so near. She took far too much pleasure in it, and I can already tell that I will pay for that remark in the future. Taking off my shirt that way was a brave move. When I told him he wasn't my authority to follow, I saw how he balled his fists together. Which is actually the case. I owe him nothing at the moment. I am not a member of his pack. I don't owe him anything, and I haven't accepted him as my partner. That is untrue. My wolf gives me a disapproving bark. I do owe him something, she's right. He had the option to ignore me or turn me away, but instead he decided to save me. However, I am his partner. Dahlia, he has an innate desire to care for me, just as I have an innate desire to care for him, so it would be against his nature to turn his back on me. Meeting Finn and sensing my strange attraction to him, like a moth to a flame, is a strange sensation. However, this flame is 30 feet high, extremely powerful and hospitable. However, it also contains an additional substance that I can't seem to get enough of. His skin against mine is simultaneously scorching hot and excruciatingly beautiful, like tiny electrodes waking up inside my cells. For heaven's sake, just the smell of him makes me shaky. To be honest, it's a little pitiful how much mush I seem to become around him. However, I want him to understand that I will not be the type of girl who follows his every decision. Because I've mated with this person for life, I'm having to carefully consider my choices because he's done God knows what to so many people. I switch off the water because I'm getting too hot thinking about the golden black bands that encircle his protruding biceps and the sharp angle of his jawline. I'd also like to learn more about his midsection, or what little I saw of it when he blocked my path to the door. I want to know him intimately, down to the last detail. I make an audible moan and hang my head. I shake my head and whisper, I had to mate with an alpha. And a Greek god at that. I grab the towel that is hanging off to one side as soon as I step outside and wrap it around my body, which is now clean and free of bloodstains. I'm paying close attention, and I'm glad to hear that Finn has since left. Now that I've considered everything, I've lost a lot of my boldness, and the rush of my escape seems to have worn off. Although it was a lot of fun to watch him suffer from my disobedience, what I did was foolish. It was entertaining to mess with that customary iron grip he has to maintain, as he is clearly accustomed to having complete control. I enter his bedroom after opening the door. Now that I'm not attempting to flee from him, I have time to look around the room. The walls are creamy beige, and the bed is enormous, with gold and tan pillows and blankets that still have my crimson blood smeared on them. I scowl at the scene and experience a flush again as I realize how I've ruined this room's exquisite interior decor. I'm immediately drawn to the bookcase with its worn leather spines and the desk off to one side. I mentally note that I should check those out later. The exterior walls are lined with windows, but the thick gold curtains blot out the available natural light. My scowl deepens in the room's darkness as I become uncomfortable with the absence of light. Back home, we relied heavily on natural lighting. Each house was equipped with only the necessities for the winter and the reduced amount of daylight. It's very pleasant to be awakened by the sun instead of an alarm clock buzzing in a dark room, and to not have to continuously turn light switches on and off whenever you go somewhere. I reach to pull back the curtains as my feet softly tread over to the window on my left that is closest to me, keeping that thought in mind. As soon as the light comes in, I see the woods that encircle this house in a state of quiet bustle. I walk around until the light and sunshine come in through every window. Now that this seems a little friendlier and less ominous and dreadful, I already feel better. After putting my bra back on, I decide to wash my underwear because of everything it has been through in the past 12 hours. Being commando for a few hours while I do some laundry isn't the worst idea, but Finn won't have anything appropriate for me here. But when it comes to choosing a shirt to wear, I go to his closet like a child in a candy store. Walking around in his own clothes in front of him should definitely test his control issues, so this could be entertaining. I pull on a soft blue v-neck that I find. Since Finn's torso easily outstretched the majority of my upper body, it fits me very long. It appears to be a dress that falls down to my thighs. With the intention of washing them as thoroughly as possible, I then find the remainder of my bloody, filthy attire from my arrival. I find his house to be very spacious and empty at the same time. Every room has a hint of black despite the creams and golds, which is a testament to his devotion to his pack. On the left side of the large hallway that connects the bedrooms to the kitchen, I find the washer and dryer in a tiny closet. I walked into the kitchen to get myself something to eat after setting my clothes to wash on the quick cycle. I know that without it, my energy won't return, and my stomach is raging with hunger. When I open the refrigerator, I see that the shelves are completely stocked with everything I need to make a club sandwich. Every part of me is dying to eat and enjoy this food, so I start putting the ingredients together right away and go a little crazy with the mayo and turkey. After preparing the sandwich, I stuff my face in the most unladylike manner I've probably ever done. However, I don't care because I can feel the agony of my hunger fading a little. I need more, but it's really great. I then open a package in the cabinets and help myself to a row of cookies, an apple, and some crackers. I sigh contentedly as I recline in the barstool, only to discover that I've made a huge mess. I start cleaning before Finn returns because I don't want him to see the mess I made because I was hungry. I don't want to be on the receiving end of that, and it might even erode what little control he still has left. I hear a buzz from the hallway informing me that my clothes are done being washed, just as I'm cleaning the counter of the last of the breadcrumbs. I jog back quickly and throw them in the dryer, putting it on quick dry, and I don't care if they come out wrinkled and a little damp. I just need something else to wear. Don't get me wrong, I adore this shirt and it smells great, but I can't wear it outside because it's too revealing and would give the wrong impression for a newcomer. Not only that, but a newcomer who happens to be mated with their alpha. I see you've made yourself at home. The sound of his deep voice behind me makes me turn around. He is holding the package of cookies while standing in the kitchen and leaning against the island. I should have put those away, but I forgot. I am aware that he has witnessed my destruction of the front row. I attempt to avoid blushing. I just say, I was really hungry. He nods and laughs a little as he looks down at the package I ripped open. He tilts his head and looks down at my body, making me feel both vulnerable and excited. I can see that. He says, looking back up at me with his eyes fixed on me. I stand there, watching him watch me. I don't remember saying you could use my clothes either. He smirks as I ramble foolishly, well, it was this or nothing. My breath catches when he responds, I think I would have preferred the latter. His eyes sparkle dangerously. Jesus! Who does he believe himself to be? Even though I'm his mate, I don't have to put up with all of these remarks, whether or not they make me smile. I cross my arms over my head and ask, you did hear me before, right? I take a few bold steps in his direction and say, I said I'd be doing this whole mate thing on my own terms. Which means you can't be doing that all the time. He asks as if he truly doesn't know, doing what? That. I exclaim, waving one arm uncrossed toward him in frustration. As he narrows his dark eyes at me, I fold my arms across my chest once more and say, making all those remarks, and staring. I am not yours to comment and gawk at. Even though I know I've irritated him, I don't give a damn. The fact is, I don't need to take any of this crap from him until I've decided to accept him as my partner. His voice, which he must use when speaking to his pack members, is now harsh and cold with authority as he states, whether you like it or not, you are on my land right now. He says plainly, crossing the floor so that we are only a few feet apart, which means you are under the same rule that everyone else is around here, me. I boldly shake my head and declare, I don't have to accept it. I tell him, my honesty betraying my sense of reason, you aren't mine to follow. My pack was destroyed last night, meaning I have complete free will right now. And I intend to keep that until I find someone worthy of placing my trust in. Shit, shit, shit. Dahlia, bad move. In essence, you told him that you don't think he's a good enough alpha. He flexes his jaw in annoyance at me, and his eyes somehow get darker. I bite my lip out of uncertainty and to avoid saying anything else that could land me in hot water. He crosses the floor and abruptly grabs my forearms, asking, "Are you really questioning my ability as an alpha?" He presses me against the counter, and our closeness causes my chest to tighten. I want him to feel every exposed skin area on my body as he presses closer. God, do I want it, even though I hate it. In the brief time we've known one another, my body has developed an insatiable thirst for him. I say in a rushed voice, it's not exactly wrong of me to do so. I don't know you, or how you operate your pack. From what I've heard, you're the worst of the worst. Some say you run your pack so efficiently because you don't have a heart. It keeps you from feeling. I want to slap myself again for saying more than I should have. Since we are still pressed against one another, a deep laugh rumbles through him and into me, and the vibration of his laughter invites me to bend closer. I really want to. Then he shrugs and says, maybe I don't have a heart. His dark eyes move over my face and briefly land on my mouth before saying, but you should know that not all of what you've heard is true. We have the reputation we do because it's what keeps us safe. Then he looks back at me, though. We do take over other packs, and yes, we have killed the unwilling members of those packs. But we allow the women and children to decide their fate once the men have either died in retaliation or surrendered. He clarifies, and this is new to me. I was always informed that they either killed everyone or imprisoned them all. I had no idea that choice even existed. I ask him, and what if they don't want to join you? And he gives me a sly grin. I nod curtly as he says, you seem like a bright girl, you can put two and two together. Rejecting his offer after being invaded equals death. He laughs when I remind him, being your mate, I get to have equal status with you. Only when I've accepted you. I'm right. Or when I have accepted you. Without wanting to argue further, he states firmly, when we accept each other. His brown eyes appear to be icy, empty voids as we look down at one another. However, I have a feeling that this is all a front he puts on to appear like the big bad wolf. I'm sure he has no trouble gaining the power and control he desires, but there's a sliver of something more hidden beneath the surface. He might be correct. Perhaps, without realizing it, I have been hearing distorted accounts of his past over the years. Given that werewolves are inherently dramatic beings, it's quite possible. We look for ways to add excitement to the topics we hear and discuss. We don't rule out embellishment. We are prone to exaggeration, if anything. He surprises me by pushing me deeper into the counter when I firmly say, if I decide to be in this pack, there has to be less killing. I want to retaliate once more and tell him to stop. None of it would be true, though, because I can't help but notice how my heart rate rises with anticipation and how my legs heat up when he's this close to me. Something hard and long is sticking out into my thigh, and oh my! I take a deep breath, but I stand still. He is so accustomed to controlling others, and I can't allow him to do the same to me. His mate is me. His equal. I need to start behaving that way. With one eyebrow raised and his hands moving to rest comfortably on the small of my back, he asks, "And who's making that call?" I try to speak evenly and keep my heart from pounding so hard that it feels like it will burst out of my chest as I say, "It would be a shared agreement." I make the error of glancing over his broad shoulders, taking in his impressive height and broad chest, which causes desire to stir inside me. His hands begin to stray from my back to my waist as if they were acting on their own initiative. Then they go ahead and cup me by slipping down. I tighten my grip on his forearm in warning and bite my lip hard. He refuses to accompany me there. I don't want to be played with. He doesn't play with me. His face creeps closer to mine as he says, "I don't like sharing." His hands feel good, sweetheart. I glare up at him, trying my best to ignore the sensation. With more sarcasm than I actually possess, I say, "Oh, you poor thing. I guess you're just going to have to learn, then." I deliberately emphasize his name as I say, "I'm not coming into this pack unless I get equal say, Finn." It's more significant than most people realize. In the world we live in, at least, it does. You don't use the Alpha's first name unless you're a close friend or relative. Sir or Alpha is it? Never use his first name unless you want to offend him or you know him well. It's the second one for me. Similar to how people address their teachers as Mr. or Mrs., it's a matter of respect and common courtesy, but this is an extreme mannerism that shouldn't be taken lightly. It's like talking to royalty. He mocks my wishes with a laugh and says, "I'll be sure to write that down somewhere." I dig my nails into his flesh and growl. He gives me a tighter squeeze in return. I mutter with unadulterated annoyance, "You are impossible." However, when my brain seems to shut off, I can't resist curling my leg around his calf. I swear his eyes darken instantly after I run my hand down the length of his leg. I smile sweetly and boldly lean up toward him as he says, "Stop defying me so much and we might actually get along." I whisper in his ear, "Now where's the fun in that?" as his aroma envelopes me in an unnaturally delightful manner. I'm already putting our limits to the test by hooking myself around him in this way, and it threatens to shatter my resolve. The dryer's buzzing abruptly interrupts our moment, and I smirk before letting go of my leg and wriggling out of his grasp. I say, "Looks like my clothes are done. Here." My inner wolf joyfully prances once more as I remove his shirt and throw it to him. I hear him catch it and proceed down the hall. Using the closet door as a kind of barrier to hide myself, I turn on the dryer and change into my old clothes. I fold the door out fat again after I'm done changing, and when I look up, I see him standing there with his jaw clenched. It appears as though his free hand, which is gripping the counter, could shatter a slab of marble. His eyes convey feelings of unadulterated desire and want, and since it makes my heart race, I know my own must feel the same way. I have never encountered anything as annoying as this guy. He has exposed me more than I have ever felt in my entire life in the brief hours we have spent together. He throws the shirt I was wearing to the floor and walks out the door, saying curtly, "Dinner is served tonight at 5:30 in the main square. Don't be late and go find Nova for something nice to wear." I'm a little stunned as I stand there, wondering once more how in the world I've gotten so careless around him. This is the most defiant I've ever been in my life. However, it's possible that the loss of my pack and the accompanying sense of identity loss is bringing out a new side of myself that I have never seen before. Could it be that I should be like this? Maybe when you are stripped of everything you believed to be true about yourself, your true self emerges in a way that has never been there before. Finn and I are meant to be. That's not to be confused. Not with the physical attraction I experience, or the emotional whirlwind that sweeps through me after only a few minutes with him. Perhaps this also indicates that I'm destined to be this person, unrelenting, fearless, and extremely bold. In some ways, I feel like I'm losing myself completely, but I've also never been more convinced that this internal change is just meant to happen. Dahlia, I cautiously leave the security of Finn's house and soon find myself on a path that leads to the cacophony of conversation and the numerous individuals who are in charge of it. Shrouded in towering pines and winding arbutus, the Dreadmores occupy a stunning region that is significantly closer to the ocean than it was when I was back at Half Moon. When I emerge from the trees, I discover that I have arrived at my previous location. After my escape, I staggered into the square. However, I'm completely hidden and out of sight on the edge of the activity this time, so no one will notice. Thank God! A part of me is really glad that I'm not being watched by so many people. To refrain from making such a show out of myself. To my right, I spot a blacksmith's tent where the metal is being bent and shaped while hammers and other tools clang noisily. A few produce tents with vibrant, ripe fruits are also present. Beyond the produce, there are a number of additional tents showcasing handcrafted goods, including jewelry, pottery, knitted clothing, and other similar trinkets that are all proudly on display. It's a surprisingly charming and amiable place, which is not what I initially thought the main village of the Dreadmore pack would look like. I follow the sweet smell of baked goods to a tent to my left, where I see a variety of cookies and wrapped treats. The sight of all the treats makes me hungry again, and I think of the cookies I had earlier. Even though they were store-bought, they were delicious. Any one of these baked goods would undoubtedly blow them away. With a sing-song tune, a charming voice tells me, it's all homemade. I look up into the wise face of an elderly woman, who has wrinkles around her mouth and eyes, which are obvious signs of a kind person. As I continue to breathe in all the wonderful scents, I agree, saying, I can tell. It looks amazing. I can't remember seeing anything that looked this good before. Once more, she smiles and says, "Thank you, dear." She laughs softly, and I can't help but smile. Are you new here? Forgive me, I haven't seen you before is all. I may be old but not many can get past me. If I ever had the good fortune to have a grandmother, I believe I would want her to be like this woman. I laugh a little and confess, you caught me. I tell her, I am new here, and because of that I'm feeling a bit lost. A moment later, I realize she can help me locate this Nova person Finn mentioned I needed to meet with. When I carefully ask, actually, I need to find someone. Her name is Nova, the woman smiles in recognition. Oh yes, of course. Nova is a lovely thing. She helps her mother out at the coffee house. Just follow that path there, it's not too far a walk. You'll smell the coffee before you see it. She smiles broadly and I say thanks. Then I extend a hand and say, great, thank you. I'm Dahlia Winters, by the way. In greeting, the woman's soft one touches mine and gives it a light squeeze. As I smile, she says, I'm Greta May, it's nice to meet you Dahlia. Good luck with finding Nova. We let go, and I start to back away in the direction of the path she indicated. I turn to go, saying, thanks for your help, Greta. As strange as it may seem, this location isn't actually a pitch-black, demonic abyss, despite what has been depicted over time. It appears to be just another typical, hospitable pack. I follow Greta's advice and stick to the well-worn trail that winds through the trees. I smell coffee and muffins before I see any buildings or structures, just like Greta said. As I turn the next corner, I soon come to a small, quaint cottage on the left, with a wooden sign that reads Packhouse Cafe above the door. As a few people emerge through the main doors, I sneak inside and discover that it's actually quite crowded. There are people standing in line to place their orders, others waiting at the counter for their drinks, and still others sitting at various tables sipping coffee. I stand awkwardly off to the side, looking for the word Nova on the name tags of the employees who are walking by. Soon after, I see a girl with strawberry blonde hair and a broad smile on her face setting down multiple coffees on a nearby table of people. Her name tag starts with the letter N. I yell, "Excuse me," before realizing that I'm not even in line. Nevertheless, from where she stands, her head turns to face me. Her delicate features are adorned with an inquisitive expression before she approaches me. At that point, I'm at a loss for how to begin this conversation without coming across as genuinely strange. I'm hoping she knows what I mean when I say, hi. I'm Dahlia. Finn told me to find you so I could get something nice for dinner tonight. I breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that she must, based on the smile that flashes at me. Right. Yeah, Alpha Finn did tell me you'd be coming by, you were so quick. Let me grab Alex to cover for me, I'll be 1 second, she says with a second grin. She walks into a back room and slips behind the main counter. Nova reappears, followed closely by a girl. They talk a little before Nova leaves her side, and this girl is really attractive with striking raven hair. Nova practically rips off her apron as she does so, hanging it from a hook next to a swinging door that reads staff only in big gold letters. Before I can say anything, she takes my hand and pulls me through the throngs of people to a small corner of the cafe. My room is upstairs, so come with me. Nova opens the door and ushers us through a simple, unassuming door. As soon as we pass through, we find ourselves ascending a staircase. With her hand gone from mine, Nova is joyfully leaping up, and I'm finding it difficult to keep up with her brisk pace. Before I can fully comprehend what she is saying, she turns a corner and says, "This is the kitchen and all that, but that's boring. Mom and I are upstairs here, before we head up yet another flight of stairs. Unable to think of anything else, I say, "Oh, okay." We walk into a tiny room that is packed with a dresser and double bed. I barely have time to glance at the room before I'm standing in another when Nova says, "This is Mom's, I'm through here." The bright blue walls and throw pillows with leopard print are examples of Nova's seemingly lively personality, and this room is only marginally bigger than the other. She lets go of my hand. She assesses me from a distance and says, "Now, Alpha Finn said something nice, right? Well, let's see." Her laughter is followed by a spin around and the opening of a closet. "We're the same build roughly, but your height might make some of my stuff a little shorter." I say casually, "It's okay, I just need something presentable. I don't want to cause this new dare I say it friend of mine any more trouble than is absolutely necessary." With her back to me, Nova grinned and scoffs, "Really, you don't know how much I love playing dress up with other people. You're like my perfect pretty blank canvas." As she holds up several articles and compares them to me, as though they could leap from their hangers onto my body for her to see, my cheeks flush at her remark. I roll my eyes as she points to her cool, pale complexion and says, "You've got great skin, none of these colors are clashing, lucky bum you are. I have to stay away from anything with warm tones, since it washes me out so easily." She smiles appreciatively when I encourage her, saying, "Come on, I can see some good pinks working on you." I raise my eyebrows when she says, "Well, maybe, but I tend not to try it out unless I have another girl around to demonstrate for. It's rare to have girls I actually like who are my age around here." How could she possibly have trouble finding company when she comes across as so amiable and warm right away? I ask, "Why's that?" and she simply shrugs as she stoops to search through a laundry basket. I get a wave of jealousy when Nova tells me, "They're just all stuck-up bimbos drooling after Finn, of course. I mean some of them are tolerable. Like Alex down there. She's not necessarily the worst one, but she's been nursing a huge crush on Finn since she got here 3 years ago. It's absurd. I know I have no legitimate claim to Finn, but even though I know he's my soulmate, it's difficult to ignore this piercing annoyance. No one else is meant for him but me. My wolf would become envious just thinking about any other she-wolf scouting him and pursuing him." She starts laughing out loud when I ask out loud, "And you're not interested in Finn?" "Oh dear God, no. Finn is like a goofy older brother to me. We grew up together since my dad was his dad's beta back in the day. Trust me, you see someone in their diapers and their awkward phases, you don't start crushing on them. I find it weird how all the girls here follow after him like lost pups." She scowls. I chuckle a little. Nova looks over her shoulder and smirks as I say softly, "It might be hard for you to see, but he's not exactly a hard thing to look at." I shake my head in response to her question, "Oh, am I sensing someone has a crush?" "My friend, it's much more than a crush." I gasp as Nova giggles and asks, "Bigger hey?" "What do you mean?" "Yes, you said that out loud." She validates my suspicions without letting it deflect her from her line of inquiry. With an open invitation, her green eyes beg me to reveal, "So, what's that mean, exactly?" "You have to tell me now." Wolf's out of the bag. Given everything that has transpired between Finn and me, Can I trust her at this early stage? She clearly has no romantic interest in him, but it seems like they are pretty close. In addition, it seems like ages have passed since I had a true girlfriend. It'd be nice to vent some of these emotions to someone who could maybe understand where I am coming from. Well, I kind of found out that he is my mate. I say it so quickly the last few words seemingly fuse into one, and she looks to me with her wide green eyes alight with interest. She responds, "Say that again or I'll pry it out of you." I laugh at her comment as my cheeks begin to flush. She practically yells it for the entire pack to hear, and I flinch before shaking my head at her. "Actually, don't, I think I heard you the first time." "Your mates?" she asks. I lean back on her bed and decide on my words. "Nova, please, you can't tell anyone, okay? We're not your typical pairing." I say this with hesitation. I sink down onto her bed and follow her eyes, which tell me to continue. Into one of her leopard print pillows, I moan. Half the time I want to strangle him and the other half I'm fighting the urge to rip his clothes off. She lets out a giddy laugh. She sighs with a contented smile, and I sit up. This is too good. Finn finally has a mate? God, we were worried he wasn't ever going to find someone. Miriam will be so relieved. I ask, "Who's Miriam?" and Nova throws me a shirt. "Finn's mom. She's our former Luna, since Finn took over a few years back. Now she's just someone we go to for unofficial advice on certain things. Obviously she and Corwin still have a ton of influence over Finn and his choices, but all in all they've retired from their Alpha/Luna days." She clarifies as she looks at the shirt she gave to me. The entire thing is made of black lace, but it's not entirely see-through because of a black fabric sheet that's sewn in underneath. It features short sleeves and a deep neckline. It appears to be a shirt that adheres to your body shape solely to attract attention. Nova scoffs as I ramble in doubt. "Nova, should I really be wearing this for tonight? I mean, I don't know, I've known Finn my whole life. That means I know what girls he's dated, which ones he liked and which ones he didn't. I also know what he likes a girl to wear. He likes modest yet elegant with a hint of thrown in. That shirt is a good choice, Dahlia, trust me," she says with a firm tone. I choose to believe her and nod as I change out of my own shirt and put on the one she gave me. I look more confident than I actually am because it fits me well and embraces my curves. Her smile is devilish. "Back to you and Finn being mates," she says. She smiles slightly and asks, "How did you end up here? I mean, it's obvious you're not one of us." That's not a bad thing, by the way. Dreadmore are more accepting than a lot of people think. I begin my story with a sigh. I swallow hard as the images of the attack flash through my mind. I'm originally from a pack called Frostclaw up north, but we were attacked last night by a pack we've never seen or heard of before. Red markings, completely animalistic and savage. They killed everyone there. I make every effort to stifle them, preventing myself from experiencing it again in its entirety at this time. I get up to look at myself in the mirror across the room. I got away, slept for the night, and then ran away again when they caught up with me. I accidentally crossed your lines this morning. I look tired, and I am, so I need some makeup. But, after all, I want to look good tonight. The Alpha himself insists on it. I give an eye roll. She asks, was it Ravenbrook boundary, and I nod, wondering how she knows, but Nova responds before I can say anything. I nod in agreement as she says, I'm linked with the others. Heard about it earlier, but when I went to leave, Jace and Maddox told me they took care of it. So I stayed. I chuckle a little and say, yep, that was me, the trespasser. The man's voice was so full of conviction that I sat down again and recalled, that Maddox guy pounced on me the second he could, said he was going to kill me. Nova scowls. He would have, if he needed to. He's a scary guy, no one knows what his story is, but Finn trusts him, so we all have to put a bit of faith into that. She smiles slightly. I say, you're very loyal. She nods and giggles a little. Then, surprising me by throwing me a pair of dark jeans, she says, Finn's a pain, and annoying as all hell, but he's a great alpha. He's always putting us before himself, always what's best for the pack. We couldn't ask for anything more. She simply shakes her head when I tell her, I haven't seen that side of him yet. She gives him a knowing smirk and says, if anything, he's probably still processing you even exist. She waves a hand at the well-known fact among wolves, really, we all wondered why it was taking so long. Normally alphas are among the first to mate, you know, because they attract theirs faster or whatever. So if he's being all cold and Mr. Tough Alpha, just give him some time to adjust. It's a big deal, finding your mate. You sound like you know. You've found yours? I ask, taking off my jeans before switching to the ones she gave me, and a sheepish, giddy smile appears on her face. I smile at her when she talks about him. Yes, I have. It will be 10 months next week. She tells me, his name is Callum. He's the son of the blacksmith Barrett who makes all of our weapons. I've known him for years, but one day, we just clicked. She blushes. I'm not sure if I'll ever feel that way about Finn in public. Considering how our past interactions have gone, the likelihood seems extremely remote. I still have a glimmer of hope, though, that perhaps I will smile as foolishly as Nova does at the moment. I anxiously wait for Nova's opinion as I smooth down the jeans and latch the button at the top. She's grinning as if she has a sinister scheme for me. She then pulls me through into a bathroom and opens the door behind her, which I hadn't even noticed, saying, "We're not done yet, dear Dahlia." I'm sitting on the toilet lid, and the smell of sweet shampoos and soaps fills the air. Nova appears to be enjoying herself immensely. However, I don't mind because, honestly, she seems to know more about clothes and makeup than I ever have. I just do what's easiest and what I enjoy. If I'm being completely honest, I'm afraid of makeup. I haven't used eyeliner since I nearly went to get out my eye in 9th grade. Since then, I've only used the safest, least dangerous makeup techniques. Nova starts putting various creams on my face and quickly dabbing them in with a bright pink sponge. I chuckle at her directness when she says, "You really don't need much anyway, just enough to cover those dark circles." She shrugs and smiles when I say, "Thanks." She turns and picks up some powder after saying, "What? You just need some more sleep and then you'll be fine. Really, you've got great skin, mine is so uneven without some foundation." I give an eye roll. Although Nova appears to have nice, healthy skin, I haven't met her yet, so I can't say for sure if she has a clear sense of who she is. I am aware that we are always the ones who criticize ourselves the most. I say, so tell me more about Callum, and she blushes once more while grinning broadly. As a delicate brush, as light as a feather, glides over my cheeks, she sighs, what's there to tell? She switches brushes and is now applying some blush to me. We'd always gone to school together, but I didn't ever see him as anything more than the boy in science class. She smiled and shook her head as she opened an eyeshadow palette. Then one day 10 months ago, I was in the town square and then, it just hit me. I saw him at the blacksmith tent with his dad and that's when it all changed. She shrugs readily when I ask, and I take it you guys hit it off right away. I close my eyes as she says, more or less. It's a weird feeling, mating with someone you don't know yet you can feel so close to them all at once. I let out a deep breath as I consider Finn. I couldn't agree more. He can be so cold and aloof at times, but he can also be strangely compassionate and kind. He seems to be arguing with himself all the time about which side to support. Although we are mated for life, this has been a constant argument from the beginning, which both irritates and depresses me. Nova calms my doubts as I feel her applying mascara to my lashes, saying, hang in there, Dahlia. Finn may not be the easiest person to get to know, but he's someone you won't regret waiting for. I ask her, so what's the deal with this dinner? Is it a big thing? And she's looking at her work when I open my eyes. She tilts her head and steps back towards me, meaning I have to close my eyes once more. I feel her finger wipe something away from the corner of my eye as she continues, well, yes and no, this dinner happens every month with the pack. It's a time for any concerns to be heard freely by the Alpha and his council, regardless of who raises them. But at the same time, it's meant to be an enjoyable get-together, you know, with music and dancing and great food. It's been taking place ever since Corwin retired and Finn took over. The two of them decided that it would make us feel more united and stronger as a pack. When I open my eyes, Nova reappears, looking extremely content with herself. That the Dreadmore pack, of all packs, hosts a unifying dinner each month solely for the benefit of its members is hard for me to believe. A meeting to find a diplomatic solution and listen to anyone who is unhappy or dissatisfied. All the stories I've heard don't fit with it. Actually, nothing I've seen so far aligns with what I've heard about the Dreadmores and what the rest of the werewolf community believes. Nova guffaws as I say, so I need to be dressed nicely and on my best behavior. She wiggles her eyebrows suggestively, and I roll my eyes and swat at her arm. Well, Finn's family will be there, as will everyone in the pack, so I'd suggest you keep the sassy comments and backtalk for later, when you two are alone. I sarcastically say, right, I'll make sure to do that. I pause to consider how I'll be introduced to everyone. Nova, I blurt out, feeling a fresh wave of panic rising within me. Yet, she asks casually as she tidies up her cosmetics. Who am I to the rest of the pack? I'm not a Dreadmore, I'm not an enemy, I'm more like a refugee if anything. Also, will everyone somehow know Finn and me are mated? I pucker up as I consider this. To be held to the Alpha's mate's standards so quickly would be rather awkward. I can tell that Nova is considering this as well because she leans back on the counter. Well, in all honesty, I don't think Finn would put you on the spot like that and just announce you're his mate to everyone. I think he'll keep it under wraps until you're both more comfortable with it. He's a jerk. She looks at me with a grin. I pretend to be someone like Alex who is chatting about me a lot. I just don't want to be seen as the alpha's mate around here, you know? This is a chance for me to kind of start over. I want to be known as Dahlia, not oh my god it's the alpha's mate, Dahlia. As she zips up the purple makeup bag on her counter, Nova chuckles a little. I feel better knowing that she is correct. It is up to us to decide. Well, don't worry about it right now. All anyone knows is that you're new around here, and they don't need to know anything else until you and Finn decide. I nod and take a deep breath as I get to my feet. She grins proudly at my admission as I say out loud, I know, you're right. She asserts, I'm always right. But don't look yet, as I turn to look in the mirror. She grabs me by the shoulders and drags me back. She smiles when I ask, why not, with astonishment. She says, because we're not done. One more thing, and covers my mouth with a rich lipstick before gesturing for me to press them together, which I do. There. Now look. She moves aside, and I give her a mildly annoyed look for all the fuss she's making before turning to face the mirror. I raise my eyebrows in astonishment. Nova went all out for me. As if I had slept all day and truly received the rest I required, my skin appears radiant and healthy. My lips are a gentle coral pink, and Nova used bronzes and golds to create a smoky eye effect. Finn should be tripping over himself tonight, with any luck. Nova is giggling. She sighs happily and claps her hands, saying, how I'd love to see that. Still not understanding how that person in the mirror is me, I just nod when she says, okay, I'm going to change and do my makeup now. I get to my feet and walk over to her bed, where I collapse. I'm hoping that this dinner won't totally ruin my chances of getting in here. Dahlia at 20 minutes after 5 o'clock, Nova and I depart, waving goodbye to her mother, Janice, from behind the Dreadmore Cafe counter. Janice has a lot of work to do before closing for the evening, so she may be a little late. When we return to the town square, it has changed from what I saw before. It has a whimsical feel because lanterns are strung between the buildings and tents. Since the main area has been cleared of any obstacles and has tall stand-up speakers positioned around its perimeter, I can tell that it is intended for dancing. The dance floor is surrounded by long tables that are arranged in a kind of rectangle. I immediately recognize the one with the opulent black tablecloth as being for Finn, his family, and the council. I scowl as I consider my seating arrangements for tonight. I won't really have a reason to sit with him if we aren't declared mates tonight. But really, do I want to sit with him at all? We can't seem to stay together for more than 5 minutes before we're eyeing each other with daggers and fighting over something. I ask, refocusing my thoughts, Nova, where are you sitting? But her eyes are far away and somewhat glazed. I smile when I see that it's the blacksmith's tent and follow her gaze. She seems to bring herself back to the present. Hey? Oh right, she says. After recognizing my inquiry, she points to a spot where a few people have already taken their seats and said, yeah, I usually sit there. I nod and decide that since Finn will obviously not have space for me tonight, I'll sit with her. In addition, the Alpha's quick admission of this stranger into his inner circle would appear odd to the pack. We must keep as far away as possible so as not to raise any alarms. I can smell different foods being prepared at the tables off to the left, and I'm eager to eat something substantial and satisfying. I let out a sigh and glance around to see if Finn has arrived yet. I blush. Am I really that obvious? Nova giggles and says, "He'll be here later." I hear a voice behind us ask, "Who will?" Nova and I turn to see a girl standing there wearing a tight red dress. Her brown eyes narrowed at me, and her long golden hair fell in loose waves. Her skin-tight dress perfectly accentuates her figure, which would make a Victoria's Secret model blush. Her well-defined chest is beautifully accentuated by the plunging neckline, and the fabric hugs all of her delicate curves. However, she exudes an extremely hostile vibe, and I quickly recognize that it's all aimed at me. My wolf is suddenly extremely tense around this new person, and I feel a knot of tension coiling up inside of me. She's really pretty, to be honest. However, the attractiveness of her features is simply obscured by her tense, tight face. She asks, "I bet you're talking about Alpha? Hey," and Nova scoffs, giving me the first disgusted look I've seen in her all day. It's obvious that I would want to stay away from this woman if Nova doesn't like her. "What's it to you, Jarvis?" Nova dismisses her too quickly for this to be their first encounter, even though it appears that she has dealt with her previously. This Jarvis seems to believe she knows me, but I'm not sure who she is. Jarvis smiles sweetly and says, "I just want to make sure that the new girl here understands he's not on the market for anyone." At that moment, the jealousy and rage I felt earlier tonight flare up again. She laughs as if it were a joke, and I bite my lip to keep from saying something I won't be able to take back. Alpha isn't someone for lost little girls to go chasing after. Just a word of advice for the newcomer. Now that she is furious, Nova comes forward. "You know what, Jarvis? It's funny you say that, because while you may think you've got it all figured out, Dahlia here is actually..." I interrupted her, putting my hand on her arm and glaring at her. She is unable to go out and disclose the truth about my mating with Finn in this manner. Not over a trivial dispute with someone I don't really know. I interrupt to refocus the conversation after Nova appears to understand and stops talking. I give her my sweetest smile and pretend to be interested and curious as I ask her, "No, it's okay, Nova. I'm sure Jarvis is just trying to give me a friendly heads up on what it is Finn likes. Which is, I suppose, you." As though she were a movie star walking the red carpet, Jarvis smirks and combs her long, blonde hair over her shoulder. "Well, yes, I'd say so. I mean, why else would we have been so intimately involved for the past 6 months? He hasn't mated, which is a shame, but our arrangement has been nothing if not mutually beneficial." She softly chuckles to herself. In her immaculately ironed dress, I resist the impulse to push her flat on her. With a casual shrug, as though I have no personal stake in this, I say, "He still has time to find a mate, you know." She rolls her eyes and smooths down the fabric of her dress, but there isn't a crease in sight. Yes, but I feel the chances are slim. It's been years now, and men, especially alphas, have needs. Needs they often find other ways of fulfilling, with women who are actually available, rather than one that may or may not exist. Eventually, he'll understand his time is better spent on the people who have made themselves available to him at every turn. Those who have first-hand knowledge of what he truly needs. Even though Nova is on the verge of exploding, I maintain my composure and nod in agreement with Jarvis, acting as though I'm not considering ripping her lovely little dress to pieces while she's still wearing it. I smile a little and say, "Well, it sounds like you have it all figured out." I say with ease and a casual tone, "I suppose only time will tell now." I look at Nova for a moment to try to convey that I have this under control. Jarvis's brown eyes scan the crowd in front of us, her lips curving upward in a confident, cunning manner. Time will tell, of course, but I like to think my chances are more than good. Dare I say, I could very well be Luna of this pack pretty soon. This woman and the way she believes Finn is merely her property, or soon to be, in any case, have me completely uneasy. It takes all of my strength, as well as Nova's, to keep from bursting her idealized blonde bubble and letting her know that I will actually be Luna long before she does. I tilt forward and smile. With a voice that practically drips honey, I say, "I hope you enjoy the dinner, Jarvis." She merely gives Nova and I a final once-over before turning on her heel with a slight huff, which makes me believe that she expects me to react differently. As Jarvis struts away from us and into the crowds of people still swarming in search of seats, Nova laughs. She laughs again, and I actually join in as the last of Jarvis's blonde hair disappears from view. Wow, I haven't ever seen her so rattled before. She must be genuinely threatened by you, and you are my hero for keeping it together like you did. "Thank you for letting me witness that," she exclaims. I brush it off, not having the energy to focus on it anymore. I have the feeling that won't be the last of our interactions whatever. I propose, let's go sit instead. I sense a sudden change in the atmosphere as we walk over to the chairs, and it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's a latent charge that is similar to static and ready to explode into something more powerful. I turn around, moving slowly and hesitantly in the general direction of the sensation. I glance over my shoulder now and quickly scan the area before meeting his gaze. Finn's eyes are eerily gorgeous over the rim of his wine glass. I'm not sure how long he's been staring at me. No matter how far away we are from one another at the moment, the sensation of his eyes makes my body burn from the inside out. Once more, I get the impression that he is unraveling me piece by piece, like a puzzle, leaving it vulnerable to his manipulation and play. My attention is diverted by the sound of Nova calling my name, and I turn to see her perplexed expression from her chair. Despite the heat coursing through my body, I gather myself and quickly make my way to sit down beside her. However, I lose my balance and sit down a bit too harshly in my haste. I bump into the person next to me when I stoop too far. As I regain my balance, I automatically say, "Sorry," and turn to see a very familiar face. The man smiles and says, "Oh hey, it's you." He's one of the two men at Ravenbrook when I stumbled into the Dreadmore territory, and I know him as Jace. I choose to start off our conversation humorously because I don't want a recurrence of the previous incident. "Yup, it's me, the dangerous trespasser." I ask, laughing a little, "Hopefully you and Maddox aren't planning on killing me tonight, right?" And Jace's face falters slightly, as if he's actually surprised by the question. God, No. I mean, we're meant to apprehend anyone who isn't supposed to be here, but Maddox is just all wrong when it comes to dealing with people. He's an act first talk later sort of person. Jace responds with a nervous sigh. I can see that Jace is actually pretty attractive now that I'm up close and not attempting to flee him. His friendly hazel eyes and sandy blonde hair seem to light up his face when he smiles. I conclude that he is a lot like the stereotypical boy next door. I laugh and say, I got that impression. Jace also smiles. I roll my eyes as he says, yeah, sorry about that. As Jace frowns, I laugh and say, don't apologize for him. You weren't the one who promised me death. He shakes his head uneasily and says, maybe not, but I still don't feel good about what happened today. If it had been me you met before him, I would have listened to you, but Maddox just jumps the gun on everything, doesn't trust a soul here, I can tell you that. I look around the tables for Maddox for a moment while Jace takes a swig of his wine. As though reading my thoughts, Jace says, you won't find him here. He's not one for gatherings. I shrug and turn around. Jace merely nods slightly when I tell him, well, his loss then. This doesn't seem like the horrific place everyone's told me about growing up. He hesitantly agrees, but I suspect he isn't expressing everything he is thinking. It's not too bad. I find this annoying, and before I can bring it up with him, a distinctive clink 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 sound envelopes us all. We all fall silent and turn to face the head table. Finn is standing there looking incredibly dapper in his caramel dress pants and formal navy button-down. I picture stroking his muscles with my hands, sensing each dip and ridge as that shirt clings to his body. What an experience it would be to take that shirt off. I would probably find smooth skin with a little happy trail on his middle, which seems so defined. Crossing my legs and scolding myself, I hastily grab my wine. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.